Okay. Hari Paratman Ahala Aur Maas Gadyazan Ho. Hari Paratman Ahala Aur Maas Gadyazan Ho. This is called The Seven Names of God by Meher Baba. And I'm waiting for people to get on. So I'm going to do a couple mantras, which I think are important. So if you're new here, welcome. Follow me on YouTube. All these lives go on YouTube. And I've been doing a lot of different things about the ascension, depression during the ascension, the divine template being destroyed, and so on. So definitely follow me on YouTube. But let me give you, as I wait for people to get on, a mantra on I am divine love. Aham Prema. Aham Prema. Aham Prema. Aham Prema. So this is something you would do on your chakras. Okay, you would work on your chakras. If you're pregnant, do it on your chakras and do it on your baby's chakras. Okay, speaking of pregnancy. Okay, work on your baby's chakras. Because you, as a mother, and the soul of the child will be bonded for the first 7 years of its life. Ahom Prema. And the beauty about mantras is you can sing the mantras. So we're going to be talking about a lot of things. So I'm just waiting for people to get on and to stay on. Not people just scrolling because they're bored. So the seven names of God, I used to do it on all my chakras. I used to do it at the time I was doing 7 chakras, not 9. And I was doing 3 times on my chakras. So the 7 names of God, you can look it up, Meher Baba, the 7 names of God. And I'm trying to, actually, hang on. Hari Paratman Ahala Aur Maas Gadyazan Ho. Hari Paratman Ahala Aur Maas Gadyazan Ho. So when you look it up, you just put Meher Baba, Baba, the 7 names of God, and you'll be able to. Oh, thank you, love. I'm glad you're here too. I hope you're doing well, my love. You know I'm thinking about you. So we're going to be talking about karma. We're going to be talking about reincarnation. Whenever I get on these lives, I'm always assuming that everyone is clear onto reincarnation and how that works. I just assume a lot of things, and I don't want to bore you with little things that you probably already know. But one of the things I'm starting to realize is that people don't understand reincarnation. People don't understand reincarnation. People don't understand how we choose our parents. People do believe that we don't choose our parents. And there are multiple ways to look at this. One way we choose our parents is that we actually radically choose our parents. Like I chose my parents. I remember distinctly doing it, believe it or not. But sometimes we are a choice to parents on a frequency. It has nothing to do with choice. It's like, I'm going to give you an example of parents. We're going to make it up. Mary and Joe. And Mary and Joe are a good couple, but Joe's an alcoholic and Mary was abused and she's never gotten over it. She's never spoken about it. And this soul has had massive abuse and addiction issues and doesn't feel worthy. And suddenly it's like a pull, a magnetic pull. That soul is a match to that couple who are looking to get pregnant or who are pregnant. I don't believe in the soul taking over the body at conception. And I'll tell you why. I never believed that, but I was never clear as to how. And then I read Michael Newton's books, Journey of Souls, and his second book, Destiny of Souls. And it really resonated with me because he talks about the soul choosing, first of all, or being a frequency match to the this family, and how the soul sits in that body, right? Because first of all, I just imagine you're coming out of high energy, and you're like a heavyweight diver. Have you ever seen, and I call them deep divers, heavyweight divers, meaning they have these huge metal masks, weights around their waists. They can walk on the bottom of the floor, right? And so that's how it feels, going back down into 3D. And Michael Newton talks about how in his hypnotherapy sessions, clients were describing trying to make themselves comfortable in that body, kind of like making your own bed and fluffing up the pillows, fluffing up the brain, seeing how it would fit, how their soul could fit into this body. And in some cases, it doesn't work out, right? There's a miscarriage. There's a stillbirth. And in some cases, the soul commits, roots themselves into the body. And that felt exactly right to me. And what I've seen also in my own hypnotherapy sessions, with my clients, is when we talk about going back into the womb. And I've gotten multiple types of recall. One recall, one of many, is feeling excited. Some recalls are feeling like, oh shit, I don't want to do this. It's like a last minute backpedaling, going, I don't want to do this. Oh fuck, these people are insane. I don't think I can do this. And yet it's too late. The commitment, the body has been taken. The meeting happened, and the amnesia starts falling into place, the amnesia. And so I've seen in my own hypnotherapy sessions with clients freaking the fuck out at the last minute, being afraid, sad, trapped. But I'd say that was about 30%, maybe, and that's a big number. 9 times out of 10, though, or rather 7 times out of 10, these people felt excited because the soul realizes that even if you're given 80 years on this planet, it's like the blink of an eye. It's like time, again, is not linear. And like all these plans to get X, Y, and Z done feels so possible until suddenly it doesn't feel possible anymore in our point of view through the lens of 3D. So in other words, what was possible with your guiding system, with your soul tribe, when you all met and you're like, are you going to do that? Yeah, I'm going to do this. We're going to get this shit finally done, right? We're going to, like clean up some shit. We're going to get stuff done. You and I are going to marry. We're going to have kids. And then you incarnate and suddenly it all goes fucking south. The person you were supposed to meet, divine timing, by the time you meet them is an addict. They were molested. You're dealing with your own issues of abandonment, of being the golden child or the scapegoat or the glass child. Apparently, there's a new one now, and you're realizing, especially if you're spiritually aware, as you're trying to excavate your own fears and unresolved anger and abandonment issues, maybe depression, that you might even have flashbacks of remembering some of the agreement you made with this beloved, and you're realizing it's fucking going straight to the toilet. And you start panicking. And this is a particular problem. You start panicking. And this is a particular problem for people on the twin flame journey, because when twins incarnate, they incarnate being in union. It means possible even having children together. But the way the world is set, it's so fucked up that if you meet when you're young, You're going to have baggage. I don't know why people think being young makes you not have baggage. You'll have a lot of baggage because you have gone through a traumatic family or school experience or all of the above, and you do not feel worthy of love. You don't think it's possible because you don't feel lovable because no one's ever made you feel lovable. So that's the first sabotage. And then you might actually meet again after you break up, meet again 10 years later, and now there's more war wounds that need to be resolved, and they're not. And maybe your beloved, or maybe even you, are dealing with some kind of addiction. It doesn't have to be alcohol. It could be other things, you know? Could be all kinds of other things. And so when we finally meet to be together, there's a lot of walls that we have to climb. And the amnesia is the point. And this is why twin flame coaches like myself, for example, and ascension coaches like myself, we talk about how you can't expect your partner to understand, or the person that you love, you want them to understand, or the person that you love, you want them to be your partner. You can't expect them to understand your needs. You cannot expect to have them understand what the contract was, especially if they're entrenched in 3D and you're in 4 or 5D consciousness, even though you might be dealing with depression or battling other things of that nature. And so this is why we tell you to work on your own empowerment, so that you are enough unto yourself, so that you're not codependent, so you're not reliant on them to come to you fully, healed, for you to finally say, okay, now I'm fully healed, because they're healed, I'm healed. It's too codependent. It's not going to get you where you want to go. So sometimes when you incarnate, and this kind of situation I've just described happens, in some cases, you might be planting the seeds of your future union, not in this incarnation, and I'm sure this is hard to swallow, not necessarily in this incarnation, but in the next one. And not necessarily on this planet, depending on how much work you're doing to ascend. You might not, it'll come to a point where you're no longer, as I've said often, a frequency match to 3D. You're just not. You're going to be bouncing off. You will not be able to incarnate here because you'll be like Teflon. You'll be like, no, you can't come here. You'll bounce. And it'll be 5D only or above. And in some cases, and I saw this in my own hypnotherapy Akashic readings, in some cases, the supposed sleeping twin, let's call him a sleeping twin, he, she, whatever, it was all about you learning how to be enough into yourself. It was never that they didn't know who you were. I mean, their ego took care of keeping them asleep, but their soul always understood their role, and their role was to make you not codependent, to make you independent, to make you strong enough to create your future in this incarnation, to actually pursue your mission with or without your person. With or without, you're going to pursue your mission. And that the reason why they came in hard and fucked up and broken was kind of like they played a role for you to learn not to need them to fly. And sometimes it isn't that. They're simply in complete amnesia, and they don't understand, and they don't remember, and they are so entrenched in their monkey mind that they can't even hear the whispering and wisdom of their soul at all, period. So when you are in these connections, these connections, these divine, you're living, when you're in union with your twin, we're going to be talking about twins, actually. I'm seeing that I need to talk more about it, because I was going to talk about reincarnation, but I think we're going to go into reincarnation, and I'll go back, and you can ask me questions. But reincarnation with your twin, and this is again something that few people understand, isn't every incarnation you have. In multiple incarnation, you will have maybe 3 or 4 or 5 incarnations where your twin is nowhere to be seen. Why? Because you have things to learn that they cannot be a part of, and vice versa. And what are these learnings? Self-love, not to incarnate into 3D. Swear to God, that's pretty much it. It's like pass the exams. What are the exams? Self-love, self-forgiveness, forgiveness of others, unconditional love. One of the things that is extraordinary about the twin flame dynamic that no one can deny is the insane amount of unconditional love given to that person when anybody else who pulled half the shit, you would have told them to fucking hit the road a long time ago. So one of the first lessons you learn in the twin flame journey is unconditional love. And I mean no fucking conditions. I mean, if that man or woman comes back to you with somebody else's child, you'll forgive him. And you'll be like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Why am I forgiving this? This is insane. And yet you do. I can't tell you how many twin flame feminines who I've met across the years of me working with them have basically loved their twins' children from other women. Loved them as their own. That's in a way, it's kind of like King Solomon, the story of King Solomon, when the baby is, like apparently been stolen, and he's trying to figure out who is the real mother. And finally he says, well, I'll cut the baby in half and then you can have half the, this half and you can have that half. And he realizes the true mother says, absolutely not. Please let her have the child. I'd rather it be alive than destroyed. And that's when he knows that's the real mother. Because the other bitch is saying, oh yeah, cut it in half. Just pure evil. And this is something that we learn, is that we will let go of our beloved if they are better off without us. We will love their children. We will forgive them the most insane, the unthinkable. And yet we will always also come to a place where we will hit a ceiling of our own integrity for ourselves and realize that I will love you from afar. I will love you forever. You need me, I'll be there. But your fuckery is so destructive that I love myself more. And that's when you hit the sweet spot of ascension. That's exactly what the universe wants you to do. In fact, the soul of your twin, in its truth, wants that for you as well. And it's very difficult for people to understand. In some incarnation, it will look like it's never going to happen. And it doesn't matter if it happens a month before one of you dies. It doesn't matter. That's still a massive success. And because you've planted all the seeds, and the harvest starts in the end of life and begins into the next. This isn't the story for everyone. Don't get me wrong. But I want you to understand that you cannot go to a coach, okay? Like myself. You can't go to me and say, well, if I meditate, will he come back? If I do my chakras every day, will she come back? If I do X, Y, and Z, will they come back? No. You're not supposed to be doing that for them. You're supposed to do it for your own enlightenment, your own ascension path, your own healing journey. And they benefit remotely. When you rise, they rise. If you rise 10 steps and all they rise is a half a step, that's still a win. That's still a win. And this is something you have to understand, because if you're doing everything, it's almost like a little kid saying, Mommy, if I clean the floors, will you give me a chocolate cake? And you're not 6. Mommy, if I brush my teeth every day and I get an A in art, will you buy me a Lego set? You're not a kid. This is about you. If you brush your teeth every day, you are taking care of your teeth for yourself. If I buy you a Lego set, it's because I want to, but it's not. You're not doing this for that reason. You're doing it because you're helping the family. And this way of seeing the work that you do to heal yourself, that may bring your twin closer to you, which is a side effect. But you don't do it looking over your shoulder going, is he or she here yet? You do it with your eyes facing forward. And of course you're hoping for them to follow, but you're not holding your breath, nor are you in a stagnant state of, apathy, waiting for them. You're actually trusting that if it is, it will be. If it's not, in either way, you're in gratitude, because what's happening with you is you're healing. You're healing, you're empowering yourself, you're getting stronger every day, you're waking up in the morning thinking of your twin, and yet it doesn't destroy you like it used to. That's a win. That's massive growth. And ultimately, what you want to understand is, why did they trigger X, Y, and Z? And I can't give you names because you might have daddy issues, mommy issues. You may have narcissistic issues. You may have abandonment issues. You may have being ignored issues, not speaking out issues. I don't know, sexual issues. Being open with your heart issues, whatever, right? Like literally breaking down and not being able to tell them, like being muzzled. In other words, even though you might be breaking down emotionally, you can't articulate that, because when you were a little girl, a little boy, breaking down, you were told and shamed by elders, elder people, right? Caregivers, parents, whatever, to shut up. And so you weren't able to articulate. So you were trained by, certain types of consciousness to not be able to articulate the entirety of your feelings to when you had a breakdown. And so what you would do is they would ask you, imagine, and I've seen this, and I've seen it with women, where the man says, tell me what's wrong. And you as a woman can't say a word. You are completely shut down. There's not one word you can come out. You're literally looking like you're cold, like you don't care, like there's like you might even be come off as a covert narcissist. But what it is it's not that. It's that you were told not to speak your mind, your emotion, your truth. And so when that creates a fracture in the relationship, in other words, maybe in this case, and we're going to put it this way, because usually we're always accusing the masculine. We're going to flip it a little bit. And the man leaves you, and he leaves you because, the masculine leaves you because he can't reach you. You're not emotionally available. You're cold as stone. And he doesn't realize that you're not cold as stone. You're shy as fuck, and you're shut down, and you can't find. It's literally like somebody just choked you every time. And so when they leave, you need to sit with that. When the fracture happens in your relationship, whether it's you leaving, them leaving, some crazy shit breaking you up, okay? You need to sit with that and ask yourself, what the fuck is the universe telling me? What am I not getting here? What do I need to understand? How am I responsible? You're not always responsible. Sometimes you're absolutely not responsible. Sometimes, quite often, it's not you, but quite often it can be you. And it could be that it's a perfect storm. They can't reach you. You can't articulate it back. And it turns into a perfect storm. Literally, it's a shit show of massive miscommunication. We're talking about, a micro Tower of Babylon. No communication. And at that point, you need to journal and excavate, what happens to me when this happens with us? How am I responsible in fucking this up? Now, obviously, it'd be good if both parties did that. We know this. I'm not promoting being a welcome mat. You're not here to let anyone wipe their dirty fucking feet on your heart, okay? I definitely don't promote that. But you do have to sit with that and look at it. And maybe a while. I mean, I know when I went into separation with my twin, there were certain things that he did that triggered the shit out of my mommy and daddy issues. It took me a while to go there, but I got there. And that was invaluable. This was very healing. It took a lot of work for me to be willing to look at that and to go, my God. And this is, again, this could be absolutely not your stories, but he represented both of my parents in perfect dynamics in some aspects, which was really not only triggering, but it released me from a pattern that most likely, and I don't have to experience every fucking incarnation and remember we're talking about hundreds of thousands of incarnations where this could have been a pattern that I had replicated again and again and again. But I remembered in a soul level that this was a pattern in this incarnation that I was breaking forever. And that changed the way I saw my worth, my ability to step into more confidence in some aspects, not all aspects, of course, but some aspects of myself, right? Into what I chose to create. And the irony is when I wrote my 2 books, right? I wrote them on the same year, 2 books, like the one on the breast cancer series, a pillow book, and then Recall, about my past life with my twin, actually. It's actually based on a true story. But anyway, I didn't get that nugget of gold that released me from a karmic loop that could have trapped me another incarnation of that shit until literally, how many? Yeah, it was like 3 years after I met him is when I got it. I went, wait, hang on. I am fucking up on this. Like, wait, hang on. He is triggering me on this X, Y, and Z. And okay, yes, this is. And I started like really realizing that in a way, how he was coming to me was a gift. It was messy. It wasn't the romantic situation that I wanted, but it was the gift that I needed to kind of reset myself and create boundaries for myself, not for him, for me, so that he understood that, yes, I love you unconditionally. I love you from here into eternity, but you're not shitting on me. And that created the respect that he needed to really like own. And he capitulated and gave me, I'm going to say like that, the obedience that I needed for him to start saying the kinds of things I'd wanted him to say for years. He finally started saying the kinds of things I'd wanted him to say for years. He finally said it on his own. I didn't have to force it. In fact, I didn't even ask for it. He started saying things that showed me that he saw us on a different level and that he respected. Did you hear that? He respected our union. And that came from me looking at where I was fucking up. Once I realized where I was fucking up, guess what? I was no longer triggered. In fact, I didn't give a shit. And when he pulled whatever, again, it didn't work because I wasn't triggered. And what was interesting is that healed him. It healed him because he realized those patterns were dead. They were taking us nowhere. I wasn't grabbing the ball. He was throwing like, the ball of the triggering ball, I had my arms on my side going, yeah, whatever, like letting it drop, not doing it. Bye. I'll tell you what, I'll call you in a couple of weeks. And he would like, no, it's okay. And I'd be like, okay, then don't pull that again. But I wasn't doing it from a place of weakness. I was doing it from a place of power, non-triggering, because I understood it. In fact, I told him what I had learned. And again, new respect was given. And in that became a seesaw of exchanging respect, clarity, and owning this relationship to such a level that we ascended. But it was dirty, it was nasty, it took a lot of, analyzing and actually excavating shit I hadn't wanted to excavate because it was too painful. And trust me, you survive. You survive those seemingly painful realizations of you can still love your parents and realize how they fuck you up here and there. And again, don't forget, your parents also came through as actors, playing roles to help you grow. So these dynamics, that we have with these people that incarnate with us, yeah, we choose them. We choose them, whether we choose them consciously on the other side of the veils, or we are a frequency match to some of the shit. And you can look at families. You can actually look at dynamics and realize, yeah, these people didn't choose each other. This is a frequency match. It's gotta be. It's so fucked up. It's like, there's no way. In my case, not only that I remember, but I had soul bonds with my mother, my father, my brother, and these soul bonds, end at a certain point, and due to death, or due to the fact that you no longer have anything in common. You stop talking to the person. They are on a different fucking wavelength. They're a completely different consciousness. You might as well be speaking Chinese or Aramaic. So that happens too. But the beginning of these relationships, when you first incarnate into these family dynamics, if you've been lucky to choose, even though your family could be fucked up in your mind, you got to look at your family and go, was it a frequency match, or did I choose this? If I chose this, what am I trying to unravel? And is it helping me in my ascension so that I no longer become a frequency match to 5D? That's it. That's the bottom line. And the frequency match to 5D is, well, I'll tell you what it's not. I would hope you would know, but just in case, self-love is a must. Self-love, self-forgiveness, forgiving of others, and in the beginning, forgiving others could be like chewing on broken glass. I swear to God. So, for example, I remember coaching people, in their careers. They have a boss, the boss. And then you have the boss who's a piece of shit. And then you move to another company and you're like, you got to be fucking kidding. I have another boss. It's the same piece of shit, but a different face, different name. Move to another job in the career, maybe a paralegal, or we're going to make it up, paralegal, architect assistant, whatever, right? Nurse assistant, whatever, right? And when a client tells me that they have now on their third position and it's still a narcissistic boss, still an asshole boss, I'm giving you that as an example because it's a pretty good one. I have to now look at the client and go, what aren't you picking up on? Like what? And this is not new age bullshit using the mirror. No, it's not. It's, what is it that you're not doing to self-advocate? In other words, no one's asking you to make the boss treat you well. It's not the lesson. The lesson is you're not going to let them talk to you like shit, even if it means you not having this job. And I mean that. And I'll tell you why I mean that. Because I'll give you an example. I'll give you my example. When I was like, how old was I? I think I was under 30. And this man, I was making a lot of money. And this man was like, said a couple things and then yelled at me. And I said to him, I don't even let my dad yell at me. Like, he's dead. But I mean, when he was alive, I never let him yell at me. And I love my dad. And you're not talking to me like that. You can forget it. And I didn't get fired. But I realized that I needed to find something else because I was not going to fucking take that shit at all. And I found a job that actually was way better than that one, paid me more money. And I don't even think I gave him 2 weeks notice. I think I fucking left and that was it. So what's the point of that? If you did get fired, let's say I got fired, I would still gotten the other job. I still would have. Why? Because the universe, once you realize that you're not here to be a welcome mat, you're not here to be abused, the universe might actually kick you out. The universe might also have the boss be removed. I'm not joking. Like the boss gets I'm trying to be funny here. Gets in a fucking car accident, is in traction, and you're like, you gotta be fucking kidding. I just wish the best for my boss, and I'm forgiving my boss, and I'm not letting them talk to me like shit, but I'm doing it respectfully. And they got in a car accident. Are you fucking kidding me? It's like they're no longer in the fucking office building anymore, and you're free. And you're like, this is like, I didn't want any harm on this person. Well, when somebody treats another person like shit and abuses power, karma has a way of evening out the situation. But what I'm saying to you is, if you could trust the universe to protect you, and so if you go from one boss to another that's toxic, and you never say shit because you're in fear, You are never going to learn that lesson to stand up for yourself and self-advocate, at the very least for your inner child. The universe is not there to send you to a job that's going to abuse you. I'm just going to be straight up. But if that keeps happening, then I hate to say this to you because I know it feels like I'm attacking you, but I'm not trying to. You are supposed to advocate for yourself. And there are diplomatic ways to do it and say it. And if you have to, because you're choking on your words, because you're terrified, practice. Just like you practice asking for a raise, right? Sometimes you could actually make a deal with yourself and go, if I don't get a $10,000 raise or bonus or whatever the fuck, I'm fucking leaving. Not today, but I'm having my shit all on Linktree. Linktree. Or LinkedIn, I'm sorry, LinkedIn. I'm going to send my resume everywhere. I'm going to send my resume to 5 places a day on my break. I'm going to fucking get another job if I don't get the 10 grand. I'm fucking out. And then you start manifesting a job that pays you $10,000, $20,000 more. But if you stay there in fear that there's nothing better, if you listen to what other people are saying to you about how hard it is to find a job and how this and that and the other, and it keeps you in fear so that you're allowing yourself to be abused by a boss or a situation or bullied by a work group or being in fear of asking for more money, you're not listening to your lesson and you're failing yourself, and the universe will kick you across the room and you'll lose a job, get another boss that's toxic, and you'll second guess and go, what am I doing wrong? Good question, but you're never going to be honest about the answer. The answer is to be fearless. The answer is to demand self-respect. The answer is to trust that the universe has your back. The answer when a job is literally when you're fired from a job, be honest. Would you have ever left? Were you on a white knuckle grip to the job? And if the answer is yes, well, I'm just going to say another month. And before you know, it's another year. And finally you get laid off or fired. And you feel massive depression. And it's almost like a grape, okay? Because you were like emotionally so severely abused by subtle shit, right? That it destroyed your confidence. That not only now are you dealing with the savagery of being fired, but now you're dealing with the savagery of you allowing yourself to be abused to then be fired. And now you hate yourself and you go through a spiral of beating yourself up. Reincarnation is a very interesting little game. Because in every aspect of your life, there's divine timing and divine appointments with people. There will be jobs you will fucking hate and people that are fucking amazing. And you will realize, being a spiritualist, that part of the reason why you're at the job is they'll see you reading the books you're reading. Your lunch conversation will be incredibly esoteric. You'll help your boss become a better boss because you'll have these little chats about karma and generosity and esoteric philosophies that you want to chew on with your boss. And this boss is a good boss. And suddenly a new opportunity opens up for you. And it's time to leave because it's too much money to say no to. And you're like, and you hated the job itself, but you loved your team, you loved your boss, and it's time to leave. Because now your divine contract is done. You were like Johnny Appleseed throwing seeds around the office, right? And helping people grow. So if you saw everything that you're experiencing as a divine appointment, a divine lesson for yourself or others, sometimes you will be the one being taught and sometimes you will be the teacher. Does that make sense? Is there any questions on that? Let me look at this. I want to look and see if there's any questions on what I've just said. Does that make sense? Keep speaking truth to power. I need to hear this. Good. I'm glad, my love. I'll tell you a funny story. This was when I was very, very young. Very young. I was working for a software company. Actually, a training company for software, hardware certification. And my boss was well, let's put it that way. He never covered the pay. We would all we would all run to the bank first because sometimes the payrolls would bounce, and we would all run to the bank, and whoever got first got the money. It was insane. We'd all take lunch and fucking race to the car and go to the bank. And we didn't deposit our checks. We'd take it to his account to withdraw immediately. And after, I'd say, I don't know, 4 paychecks, I was fucking done. And I basically left the job, and people still remained there doing that for years. They would still, for me, it took 4 paychecks. I was like, oh yeah, no, this is not going to work. Okay. And I remember there was one job when I was very young, and I'm going to say this to you because it's important for you to understand, is I remember saying yes to the job. I was so young and like almost shaking in my boots. Just so you know the contrast. I understand being shy and whatever. I didn't even know how much they were going to pay me an hour. Okay. But I said yes to the job. So I went from that to demanding my paycheck, to demanding a raise, to negotiating salary, all the way to getting a golden parachute. My last job, I got a golden parachute. I sat back and said, yeah, I didn't give a fuck. The thing about jobs is if you walk in and act like it's an interview, it will be. They own you. If you act like it's a talk, a chat, a talk. Thank you for the talk. Wow, this was a great talk. I really appreciate your time. Shall I call you or will you call me? And that's it. You kind of want them to fall in love with you, and then you want to negotiate. You want to play. In other words, if you're not looking for a job, I would urge you to start practicing to negotiate by not needing a job and putting your shit out there and seeing if you can play the game of negotiation, having them fall in love with you. It's a very office space type of consciousness of not giving a fuck. And because you don't give a, the old saying, dogs smell fear, so do bosses. They smell fear. So if you're desperate at a job, when you really do need a job and you really do need a paycheck, if you don't practice negotiating, then when it's time for you to need that, you will not have known how to do it so that you could keep your poker face and to keep a chill demeanor, to basically almost, I won't say physically, but psychologically sit back and cross your leg over the other. And the energy you're putting out is, I don't need this job. I'm just here to find out what's the opportunities. Like, I don't give a fuck. And the I don't give a fuck for the reptilian bosses out there, they love that. I don't know what it is, but they love that shit. And you're more likely to do well in your negotiation. But let's go back to karma. Let's go back to incarnations. So imagine that the boss and the jobs that you have are ancient replication of things you dealt with, say, in the royal courts of France, Italy, or England, right? Or that it was some of the things you had to deal with in villages 500-600 years ago. And some of the players are still the same players. Again, it's like, oh no, not you again. Fucking, we did this in Holland 500 years ago. Why the fuck are you fucking with me now? And these kinds of situations are real. We do meet these people again and again until the karma is cleared. And the karma is cleared by how you assert and how you see all interactions as an opportunity to learn, to release, and to transmute, and to move on. I did this class, this module, 805, history of, the Byzantine, now replayed in 2025. I passed the exam. It's gone. I'm not doing that again. Not doing it with this person ever again. We're done. We're cleared. And so this is why in your attitude with these situations, you can't say, why it's me crying. You can't say, my God, what have I done wrong? I mean, you can, and you're going to figure it out so you can actually get better at transmuting negative energy, but you aren't going to say thank you, no matter what. If you get fired, thank you. If you are demoted, thank you for the message. I guess I better look for something better where I am honored. Thank you is telling the universe that you trust the universe, that you trust its divine wisdom. And though you don't understand exactly what the deal is, you understand. I'll give you an example. I remember I was actually going to quit, but they laid me off. And every fucking morning for 3 months, I was like, oh my God, thank you. Oh my God, thank you. I'm so grateful. I'm so great. And I had the best summer of my life with my twin. And we were like so happy. And money came. I still don't understand how it happened, but money was coming. All our needs were met, and we needed nothing at all. We were having a spectacular time. And I really credit the fact that I was in gratitude for the final push that I needed to make a massive change in my life. And so gratitude, thanking the universe, even your twin, say your twin stops talking to you, something happens and you're like, oh my God, you're devastated. Through your tears, say, look, I'm really hurting right now that my twin and I aren't talking, but I know that there's a reason. And we're being put in separation because I can't learn what I need to learn with him or her. It would be too much of a distraction. And though this is hurting me, I thank you for the wisdom of removing this person from my life right now, the love of my life, while I excavate, while I empower, while I educate myself, while I recalibrate. And if you've noticed, if you're really in a twin flame journey, if you really are, every time you come back together, it's better. There's more clarity, there's more love, there's more respect. If you're honest about it. I went through that with 3 bosses. Holy shit. Luckily, I have great bosses now. Good for you. Whatever you did it. You probably told the universe, I deserve a great boss. I deserve a great situation. I deserve to be respected. I deserve abundance, and I claim it now. You know, that kind of thing. There's a mantra for money, and it's Om, and I think I put it up on it's on my mantras for abundance. And it's Om Shreem Reem Kleem Lakshmi Swaha. And you would say it 108 times, and it will give you, doors will open with that one. Doors will open. Om Namah Shivaya opens the doors, and it removes blocks. And so if you're dealing with something that's really stressing you out, I have chanted mantras for 6 hours. In my head, out loud, then back in my head, out loud, vacuuming, driving. I've done it. And I can tell you that it is miraculous what happens. And I've had too many clients tell me that the mantras I've taught them to chant have changed the energy around them and so forth. So it works. Well, none of us know really how it works, but it does work. On YouTube. Let me see here. A lot of my lives are on YouTube, but the playlists for the mantras for abundance are on my TikTok. And I think I have a playlist on YouTube, but I'm not sure on abundance and mantras. I might. I know I have guided meditations on my YouTube as well that are very long, not very long, but longer. And there is a couple of guided meditations, not a couple, like a few, on my playlist on TikTok. And I do have, like, for example, one of the guided meditations, I think I did it with Andromeda Flame, if I recall. It was like 2 years ago. And it was rewriting the soul contract with planet Earth. And there are a lot of things that we have figured out along the ascension path, and trying to figure out what is in other words, why aren't we in 5D yet? In other words, why aren't we in 5D yet? What is holding it up, right? We're all desperately, and that's probably the word, desperate is the wrong word. We need to be more in attunement with divine grace in action and all of the karmas involved around the final opening of the, of Shambhala, of 5D opening heaven on earth on this planet. And so one of it was rewriting the soul contract with planet Earth. The other was rewriting the soul contract with the twin. The other was, can you guess? Rewriting the soul contract with yourself. And so I think you'll be able to find that, pretty sure, on YouTube. In terms of the inner child healing, it is on my list, on my playlist on TikTok. You'll be able to find that. And so it's there. You know what I mean? So thank you for asking that question, and thank you for the gift. Any other questions? So gratitude is really difficult. And I'm going to share something personal. I've lost 3 people I've really loved in 3 years. In 4 years, in 4 years. And in each death, I had to say thank you. Not because it wasn't what I felt, but because it was a truth I had to announce to the universe and to the people who had died. I had to say, I'm so grateful you made it to the other side. I'm so grateful that you're happy. I know you're happy. And depending on what I was guided to do, I would do ceremonies for them while they were dying, after they died, and so forth, to make sure their souls would cross over unencumbered by confusion or whatever. And but thank you, and being in a state of gratitude that they were where they needed to be was something that was very important on the journey of releasing even the concept of why would they die? Why would this person die now? Why would this and this happen? Like, I'll give you an example, and it's kind of personal, I'll share with you. And I'm not going to get into details because that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is this. When my mother died, or when she was on her deathbed, like 3 months before she died, she was trying to reach my brother, who had decided that, and this is something that's happening, which I find disgusting. Unless your mother, father are beating the fuck out of you, essaying you, and whatever, I think you should talk to your parents. I'm sorry, until the day they die. Because people change. Even at the last hour is never too late. But anyway, so I've said that bit. But anyway, he wasn't talking to her. And so he had blocked her. And in the beginning, I was not mad, but sad for her. And as we progressed into the last 2 months of her life, it occurred to me that if he had been in the picture, I would not have been able to give her all of the attention, all of the spiritual exercises that we did on her chakras, the mantras, the saging, the preparing, the forgiving, the releasing, the self-realization moments that she had due to my prompting, all of that. I was supposed to be her death doula. And if he had been around with his, half-ass shit and whatever, it would have thrown off the energy of her being able to completely slip out of 3D, of a body that no longer worked, but also rise into her power. In other words, she dropped some scars, impressions, weights, karmic weights. She was able to drop many of them, not all, but many. And she could not have done it without I'm going to be blunt, without me and my son. And what was interesting is that it hit me about 2 months before she died that this was a divine gift given to me and to her because of this situation. So in a way, though he was a big asshole, and I'm just going to say it, this big asshole was able to let us do the great work of her clearing her energy. So rather than me spending way, way too much time resenting the fuck out of him, I turned my attention to the work at hand, which was, let's get her home with the least amount of baggage as possible. So I turned a pretty fucked up situation into a positive, grateful situation. You see? The fact that he chose what he chose isn't really the story anymore. The story was, wow, he's out of the way in however way he needed to be out of the way. She's released probably from some karma with him because she remembered past lives in Tibet when they were brother and sister and other kind of past lives where they were siblings. And, I feel as if for her, she got to realize that, the betrayal could be forgiven. And she did. And then she released him completely. And what she started concentrating on, like literally 2 weeks before she died, was an incarnation with a beloved, children that loved her, that were loyal to her. She was loved. I mean, she basically started manifesting her future incarnation with the kind of family she wanted before she died. So my point is, you got to sit with certain negative shit and kind of like reassess it and go, why is this happening? And then get the answer. Don't just say, why is this happening? And just keep saying, why is this happening? And wailing to the sky, to God. Ask, why is this happening? And sit and watch what is going on. Why do you think it's happening? How is this helping you? Why is this helping you? Why is this triggering you? Why is this harming you in some ways? But is it harming you, or is it basically, it's like a pitchfork at the back of someone's, back, it's like, come on, dude, like move along, man. You're sitting right here and there's a meteor that's going to fall on your head. Move along, move your body out of this way. And it's almost like that, like move, you're ascending. This is happening. This is for your great good. And if you stay here stagnant, you're going to be buried alive. If you keep it moving, you're going to keep moving. And what does that mean when something moves? It expands. It's got energy, and energy creates more energy. So looking at the most negative situations is sometimes, you'll be able to do it. There's some situations that will be massively hard to look at. Like being assaulted, being raped. I'm just going to put it on the table because to me that's a big one. And at that point, because of somatic assault, right? At that point, I would say to you that you would need to do, what is it, Bufo? No, hang on, combo. Doing combo, going to a somatic healer, going into hypnotherapy, and those three combinations of healing, purging what is trapped somatically from that kind of trauma. But and this is, to me, even for me to explain, how can I explain to you personally how that, where is the silver lining in that? And I'm not going to bullshit you and say there is any, but what could it be? And I can't answer that globally, because every situation is going to be massively personal, But there are situations that look daunting, like someone dying in a car accident, being their lives being ripped out of their hands, right? Somebody murdered them, and things of that nature. And it's a completion of a life. And the question is, why now? Why in this way? Car accident, overdose, self-annihilation, or being ripped. You ask the soul. When a soul commits suicide, you will not be able, 9 times out of 10, you will not. 9 times, that doesn't mean every time, but quite often the soul will not be prepared to come see you, to tell you they're okay. They won't. They'll still be in trauma. They'll be in the hands of, the light beings to help them. But anything else, like their lives being ripped out of their hands, accidents, whatever the hell took them out, they will be able to come to you if you ask. Sometimes you won't even ask. In fact, quite often, when somebody you are, close to in some capacity will come to you, and they'll come to you in your dreams uninvited the day they died, hours after they died, in your sleep, as and you'll remember them when you wake up. You'll go, shit, I dreamed about Joe. And Joe said he was okay, or Joe just stood there smiling, waving. So they'll come. And if you want more information as to why this was their time, ask them. Eventually, when a person has committed suicide and they come back, I recently spoke to someone who, their person who had done this came back 2 years later. They were ready to come back 2 years later, not before. So why am I going all over the place with that? Because I want you to kind of start thinking about, how do we transmute the most horrific into saying, how are we learning? What are we learning here? What is going on here? Why is this important? I'll give you an example. One of the things that happened recently on camera, sadly, was an old man standing in line for food in Gaza, and they were filling up his red bowl, and he collapsed and he died on the spot. Why was this important? He could have died on his way there. He could have died standing in line. He could have died all kinds of ways. He could have died the day before. Hell, he could have died on his way taking the food with him and just collapsed with a bowl of food. No, he died on camera getting food. The symbolism are not lost to you. I know it isn't. Because what we saw in that moment was a famine, a siege, and an old man with white hair trying to have one last meal, and standing there with these young men filling up his bowl, and he drops his body. And this is articulating to the entire world the severity of what is going on to those people. There is no silver lining sometimes. In this particular case, what is the silver lining? That he was the last message on the planet, that everyone has seen this video, damn near everyone. If you haven't seen it, it's everywhere. What is the message? That there are innocent people who don't, no one deserves to die like that. No child, nothing. And what is the silver lining? That these people who were going to die have been filmed, and the world is watching and weeping. Why is that a silver lining? Because people are losing their patience with fake leaders, with toxic, psychotic leaders who are only interested in themselves, who are only interested in having another 2, 3, 4 hour conversation when urgency is the only valid response. Why am I saying this? Because there are things you're going to see on this planet that will not make sense to you, and you are not here to try to fucking Rubik's Cube some sense into the senseless. Your job is to learn what your job is to ascend for yourself, so that you can raise the frequency of this planet, not just for yourself, but for the entire planet, or for as many inhabitants of this planet as possible into 5D. And so the domino effect of you coming to multiple self-realization, which brings you into ascension, pulls many people towards you. Bloodlines that you once incarnated. For all you know, you've been Jewish, you've been Palestinian, you've been Japanese, you've been African American, you've been all these things. And so when you ascend, the bloodlines you once inhabited get a frequency. The light comes on for that lineage that you can't even remember. Everything you do, everything you decide to do, when you decide not to stay into despair, when you decide to love yourself one more day, or decide to love something you've hated for so long, whether it's something in your body, your personality, your inability to sing, whatever it is, right? And you love that about yourself. You love the way you sneeze. I'm not joking. And you forgive what you felt like you betrayed yourself in, but you forgive yourself. All of these things lead you to ascension, believe it or not. Because part of the reason why some people won't make it, as nice as they are, they will not feel worthy. And one of the reasons why we kept incarnating into 3D, you, me, and many others like us, is we did not feel worthy at all. We did not feel like we had learned enough. But let me tell you, a lot of us have learned enough. We've learned, we don't need to, we don't need to keep doing this. But we need to feel worthy. And the only way to feel worthy is to forgive yourself, forgive others, and to give yourself the gift of self-love. And your twin can either destroy you or bring you to that understanding. Hopefully, it will not destroy you, because your twin never incarnated to destroy you. Your twin came through to help you overcome your inability to love yourself through the most fucked up games. You know, I mean, we could all sit down and share stories, and yet, and I'll give you an example. I had a client back in 2023, lesbian couple, and her twin was in black and red magic. Not good. No bueno. Okay. And she decided not to continue because I told her, you have two choices. You follow her on that path, or you walk away into ascension. But the only way you can be with her if she's decided to do black and red magic, which is really dark, is, you know, I mean, you're not going to make it. So you have to choose. And she chose herself, and she chose ascension, and she chose ascension for her kids, herself. And she was not going to fall into the trap of, oh my God, my twin, well, maybe if I go into the bowels of hell and, you know, through animal, whatever, you know what I mean? Blood rituals, maybe I can help her. I'll save her. No, she went, fuck that. Fuck that. And in that moment, she fucking ascended. She ascended because she chose herself. Now, let me just say that she could actually regret it, and it'll break her heart. I mean, this is a grieving that will take years, to be honest. It's not an easy, oh yeah, fuck that, I'm out, and I'll you know. No, it's a grief. It takes time to get over that, because in a way, it's a death. The twin is still alive, but the twin is so fucked up that you can't engage, and it is grieving the death of a future you will never have. Not in this incarnation anyway. And so, hey, Paulie, it's good to see you. Sherry D. So, you see what I'm saying? So, when you incarnate in these situations, right? And you incarnate to meet certain people, including ex-lovers from past lives, and then your lovers again, then you meet your twin, then you have lovers again, and all of that. Analyze these lovers. Analyze what you're supposed to let go of. Some of them are part of your soul tribe, which means if they're your soulmates, they're your twin soulmates. It's another thing people don't like. Like, for example, one of the problems that I see with people, especially women, I'm just going to say, because they're mostly my client when I do twin flame readings, is women will go, oh, he's with a karmi. He's with a karmi. And guess what? I'll ask for the birth date of this supposed karmi. Turns out the wife sometimes, I don't know, or the husband, you know, the opposite sex, whatever, is they're soulmates. I can't tell you how many times. I'll give you an example. I've given it to you before, but I think it's worth it. Her twin and her husband's life path was 8. Both of them were 8. I mean, it didn't matter really who she was going to be with. She was going to learn those lessons no matter who it was with. And she said, you know, if they knew each other, they'd actually be friends. I said, well, it's no wonder they're soulmates. I mean, they're soulmates. He's your soulmate. That's your soulmate. Your husband's your soulmate. And your twin's your twin. And so that means that when we combine the life path, I'm going to make it up because I'm trying to remember. Hang on. Let me see if I can figure it out. What was her life path? Okay, yes. I'm going to make it up. So her life path was 12, right? So what is 8 plus 12? It's 20. Judgment, awakening. It's 2, the high priestess getting it. So if, in other words, it was a journey of her with whichever man she ended up, you know, committing to. She was going to go through the great awakening, the judgment. She was going to go, if she continued to, you know, 20 is judgment. It turns into 2. High priestess energy, psychic energy, that would have been a win. For herself, 12 was the sacrifice and the victim. Did you get that? Sacrifice and the victim. She was loving 2 men at the same time. But if she went into her balanced energy of 3, right? 1 plus 2 is 3. She would go into the energy of the balance of the mind, body, and spirit. She would karmically understand that maybe her contract with her husband was over. Right? It took me a while for me to get to that point with my husband to realize my contract was done. In other words, the door was closed, but the door was made of glass and I could still see him on the other side. He could still see me. The bond was there. We had many incarnations together, incredible incarnations in the ancient world. Many, many, many. I can't tell you how many. I mean, so many. And we had a bond, but the contract was done. The contract had to continue with my twin. And when I do readings for clients, 50% of the time I'll ask them, if your twin said, yeah, let's do it, man, pack your shit, let's go. The feminine will say, I'm not ready. I go, well, then why are you crying? Why are you crying that you can't be together? You're not ready. Why aren't you ready? I'll make it up. Well, I have a 7-year-old and an 8-year-old, and he has a 5-year-old. Ah, okay. And is it the money? Well, we could figure out the money. It's the children, right? Yes, it's the children. Well, then what? Hello? In the silence of the separation, not because you got mad at each other, not because you fought each other, but because you're crazy about each other. And you have to put it to sleep for a while because you have children to raise. You also have soul contracts with these children. You had them, for Christ's sakes, right? So you have contracts with these kids. And this is the silence give you the opportunity to wake up and to read the books and to do the meditations and to journal and to discover various layers of yourself that go beyond the your name of Daniela or Joey or Tommy or Natalie. It's you start expanding, and the silence isn't the punishment. It's the you met, you've been awakened, triggered, you are now lit up, and now the curtains fall, and you might not see each other for 10 years. And it's a very hard thing to understand. There's a woman who was following me who's a twin flame coach, telling people that she will help you get married to your twin. Married to your twin. Twins have do you understand that twin flames is the word for fucking burning? You're burning karma. Flames, you're not raised yet, you're flames, you're burning karma. When twin flames get to a point where they're going to marry, they're no longer twin flames, they're twin rays. You see what I'm saying? And so be careful of people promising you, oh yes, I'll get you married. I blocked her ass. I was like, oh yeah, another person. No, fuck that. I don't want to have the energy near me, not near my elbow, breathing down my neck, of people who are going to make money off people's loneliness, desperation, and dark night of the soul, and promise them something you can't promise because we forgot a little thing called free will. And free will doesn't just encompass good things, it encompasses negative things, self-sabotage, addiction, runner, fear of love, fear of being worthy of love. There's so many. You can't make a person marry you, much less stay with you, much less live with you, much less do what they... Do you understand? And so be careful, because there are people promising shit they have no business promising. Okay? None. And there's a lot of dangerous things being promised. If you listen to Twin Flame Cassidy, 1111, or Mel Brand, they tell you what you need to do for yourself to be a frequency match to perhaps remotely heal your twin. And one of the things I teach clients is to sit in meditation, work on your chakras, and then work on your chakras of your twin. You know what I mean? Like, imagine them nude. I mean, you've seen them nude before. Imagine them nude, sitting either to the left, to the right, or to the opposite of you, or laying down next to you, and working first on your chakras, always you first, and then them. I wish I could tell you certain things that happened between me and my twin that were absolutely fucking unhinged. Things that would have been impossible to happen. But the reason why I was able to cut through 3D limitations is I realized that the only way I could win was 5D. And we're not talking about him and I fighting and not talking. I'm talking about him being in a few impossible situations and I had to use energy work, and I don't mean witchcraft, I mean energy work, visualization, manifestation, mantra, saging, chakra clearing, his mind, and then suddenly the portals would just get flung open, just boom. And so when I teach clients to do certain things, to bring their twin in, one of the things I make sure that they understand, he's coming back in, or she, but they will not be healed because you haven't done shit. You see, if you keep having mundane conversation with your twin about the kids, the sex, the this, the that, I mean, it's boring. And they still don't understand reincarnation, incarnation, karma. If you haven't spoken to them of esoteric conversations like I have, do you realize that all my YouTube videos, what you hear me talk, I talk like that to my son, my friends. I talk about 80% of the time, that's my conversation with anyone I'm around, including my twin when he was alive, and even now as on the other side of the veils. So what is my point to you? You can't be in union if you're growing up and your twin is still kicking rocks on the idea of reincarnation. You can't be in union if your twin is completely jailed by the 3D concept of this planet and doesn't really understand the big picture of, say, things like the Matrix. Like, if your twin saw the Matrix, which pretty much everybody on this planet has seen it, damn near, and then you reintroduce that movie as a concept of reality, 3D, 5D, and so forth, and you add to that knowledge from your own learning, your own meditations, your own downloads, and listening to talks like this and other talks, that's going to wake your twin up at a faster rate. But letting your twin kick rocks on esoteric, like oh, I don't know, man. Oh, okay, well, if you're not doing anything, then why are you shocked that though they're dreaming about you, they don't understand why they are? They don't even understand the concept of lucid dreaming, visitations, and symbolic dreaming. Does that make sense? So whoever is the twin with the more information, more information, you know what I'm saying? Meaning more knowledge, is going to be the twin that ends up teaching the I hate to say it, the more naive twin, the 3D twin. That's going to fall on you. And even when a twin couple is like, I'm going to call myself 4D, 5D, and my twin was 3D, 4D. He wasn't really 5D. There was too much cynicism still. And then too much naivete. It was a weird combination. I've never seen anything like it. But there was, but the thing is, as he was dropping it, as he was getting sicker and sicker, and on his deathbed, meaning like I'd say like 2 months before he died, he started believing in the magic and the infinite, because now he didn't have to deal with the day-to-day life grind of 3D. He was not exposed to that bullshit anymore. And he was surrounded by mantras and beautiful esoteric books and beautiful food and things of that nature. And so his mind started rising up to 5D consciousness. Like, he allowed himself to believe in what he would have thought a year ago impossible. And so what I learned from that I can share with you is that it taught me that these masculines really have to like get out of their own way, but they also have to be in a safe space to explore high dimensional conscious thoughts and conversations. And if you're so busy fucking each other, and I mean like literally fucking, making love, whatever, and you're not bringing that pillow talk to the pillow, then you're failing your relationship. And yeah, it's your fault. Because when you're having sex, afterwards, you should have a 7. You should already have high frequency music. You should have that shit prepared. You should have at least 3 or 4 7 to 5 minute videos on Joe Dispenza or whatever else you found that's mind-blowing, and you know that they could be mind-blown. The other mistake I see clients do is they think that because their twin didn't believe in X, Y, and Z 2 years ago, that their twin's the same person today. Massive mistake. Because with everything that's going on the planet, people, I mean, do I have to point out what happened during the COVID lockdown? What people believed in 2018, they stopped believing by 2022. Can we agree on that? That means that was a 180 in conscious shift, right? They did a 180. What they believed was true in 2018, 2017, 2015, they stopped believing by 2022. That shit was like a fairy tale, a nightmare fairy tale. It was like, hell. And they were like, yeah, I don't believe in that anymore. That's all bullshit. So I need to remind you that people change, people evolve. Yeah, there's some people that stay stagnant, and I've yet to see them. I see that most people evolve. They either get worse or they get better. It's really simple. It's like, and I feel that many of you think you know your twin from 10 years ago. Like, oh, I've known my twin since I was 19, and he would never, she would never. And I'm like, I beg to differ. There's a lot going on in the consciousness shift that is around the planet. And my God, whole fucking countries are changing. Are you kidding me? Look at ours. Our country's definitely changed. Not for the good, not for good. Okay, we already agree on that. But you see the change that happened. You see the change of other countries. I don't know if you know, but Hemingway was in the Spanish Civil War. I think it was in the 1920s or 30s. And Spain's not like that anymore at all. In 80 years. Is it 80? Hang on, let me think. I'll put 90 years, okay? Massive change. Not the same country. A lot of countries have changed. The whole entire face of a country, a culture has changed. For good, not so much for good, whatever, right? So when people tell you that things have been like this forever and it will never change, these are people you don't listen to because they don't believe in shit. And the worst thing you can do is take advice from cynical, apathetic, stagnant human beings. You want to take advice from movers and shakers. Look, when I bring up Tony, what's his name? Tony, oh shit. Forgot his name. He's a motivational speaker. Tony Blair, I forgot his name. Anyway, he went from being absolutely homeless and he's a billionaire. And I'm using money as an example of shifts and change. But it wasn't just the money that came. It was the fact that he got such a high from helping people who were so destroyed by their own trauma and their own inability to believe in their light and the beautiful gift of themselves, that his voice is hoarse from constantly talking. And he became incredibly materialistically successful, but also I would say he's emotionally fulfilled in what he does, right? And I think of so many people that are famous, like Hilary Swank was in her car, homeless, with her mother, and before you know it, she's winning an Oscar like 2-3 years later. So people change, situation changes, there's evolution at play. What was not possible 200 years ago, the conscience changes, there's evolution at play. What was not possible 200 years ago, the consciousness of people 200 years ago, 100 years ago, people in the 1940s, what they believed in. Thank God we don't believe in that anymore. Thank fucking God we grew up. We're spiritually street smart. And so what would have been impossible even during the 1960s with the hippie revolution, and it wasn't so much a revolution as you think, by the way, if you really break it down, it was more like a fucking massive party that went on for like 7 years and a couple protests that went south a couple times. But when you really think about it, we're the ones. We're the ones who are really on a spiritual revolution, and we're attaining high levels of downloads, of upgrades, of what they call Christ codes, upgrades. And we know more and more, many of you are sitting with the truth. That's why people are saying, why isn't anybody doing anything? It's because we're trying to fucking gather the storm in one fucking push to create an egregore that topples this whole 3D down once and for all. We are becoming, and we are remembering the power of being a magician, a Merlin, a druid, a druidess, to gather this power to create the egregore. Because again, Andromeda Flame and I broke down egregores, what they are, how the elite use them. Rhonda Byrne inferred it in her movie, her documentary, The Secret. She inferred it. And egregores is how they've kept us asleep, afraid, and paralyzed. And now they're realizing that we know how to build our own egregores. And what we need is a certain amount of people that believe in themselves enough so that the storm is gathered in the palm of our hands, again, metaphorically, and then we push it out back into the sea of the consciousness, and it's a tsunami that hits them off their fucking pedestals. Not to harm them. Get the fuck out of our way. It's 5D now. We're walking through the bridges. We're crossing the bridges. Get the fuck out of our way or join us. You're up to you. And that's what's happening. And it's happening slower than it should. I'm going to be blunt. Because people are allowing themselves to collapse into rage and despair, and all of these emotions are impotent. If the rage gets you out of bed to create shit, fantastic. Then it's a righteous rage. It's not a toxic rage. But depression, you can't do shit with depression. Because now it's castrated your powers. So the concept let's go all the way back to reincarnation. And when you ask yourself, why did I come here? I didn't ask to be born. I never wanted to be here. I hate the planet. I hate this planet. All of that, you're going the wrong direction. Because, as I've said 100,000 times, the planet is great. The people who rule it are fucked up. If the people who rule it weren't here, you'd be very happy living here. So would I. So the planet's never been the problem. And we need to get serious about how we're going to create the 5D. And that is my entire conversation. When twin flames are in separation and they go through the dark night of the soul, and if you actually survive yourself, because that's what it is, it's a surviving of the self, because some people don't. They don't make it out of those dark night of the souls. You'll never hear about it, but they're no longer on this planet. So the fact that you survived yourself is a massive, massive fucking power. It's a win. And then when you survive yourself, there's still a melancholy. I'm never going to lie to you and say, oh yeah, no, everything's fine now. No, it's fucking, the hunger is still there, but it isn't as all-encompassing. It doesn't annihilate your ability to focus on other things or to get other things done. But what I'll say is, if you trust the universe and you realize that in 5D, everyone's awake, everyone's aware. There'll be some that are much more wise, or there'll be, you know what I'm saying? There'll be like some people that just know more, and thank God for them. We'll have our shamans and our elders and our young ones who are such incredible lights of wisdom, that the planet will be in a balance. But the small percentage of people that have made our lives miserable for thousands of years won't be here. They won't be a match. So you see how your problems are gone? Most of your problems will be gone. And so when you're in separation from your twin, then you need to say, okay, this was probably a soul contract. This was something we discussed before we took on this incarnation, that if we don't hit this particular module, if we don't finish this particular challenge at this date, we agree we would separate for a year or 10 years or whatever. And okay, I know and I trust this separation because I know she still love me. I love them, but we're in an impossible situation for whatever reason. Could be any number of reasons. And because this is happening, let me get some shit done. Let me trust this process blindly, which is the cycle of the moon, is like literally realizing I can't see, a mile ahead of me. I can't even see 100 feet ahead of me. I can only see 20 steps ahead of me. But I know in my heart that we're gonna be together, or we're because you are. If you're lucky to be in that situation, not in the situation of that other twin who had to say goodbye to her, weird dealing, black magic, red magic person, right? She had to say goodbye in this incarnation. It was not gonna happen unless that person did a massive 180. If that's not you, then you're lucky. Does that make sense? Actually, that picture, spiritual black sheep, is actually Mary Magdalena and Yeshua, actually. And I did Mary Magdalene and Yeshua. I'm thinking of doing them I did them as African, because when you look at the Palestinian people, they are from the African all the way to blonde hair and blue-eyed. I don't know if you've noticed that, but the Palestinians are very diverse in their coloring, even though they're all Semitic, Canaanites. So you got it. You're absolutely right. It is Mary Magdalene. I did a whole series of art through AI to create that. So thank you for noticing. And anyway, so listen, I'm going to go. I hope this helped. I don't know if it did or not. I did a couple lives that you may want to check out. One is on water. Listen to my live on water. You'll see it. It's right there. And then there's another live on going through the depression when you're going through the ascension. It's really, really actually normal. And it's something you need to understand so you don't feel alone or totally, like depressed. That, I'm depressed. Why am I depressed? I'm ascending. It's part of it. There's a lot of things going on while you're ascending. And depression can be part of it, but you want to try to use the mantras I'm sharing with you. And hi, it helps us. Oh, I'm glad, little brother. I really appreciate you. Yeah. Polly, I have some unicorn brothers that are amazing. Beautiful men that are beautiful souls. And I have a post that I just did, and it said, the divine masculine template is Yeshua. And I put is, not was, is Yeshua. And it is. He is the divine the divine template of the divine feminine is Mary Magdalene. And the divine sacred union of Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, we have the template. So I did a series of images for you to look upon to rewire your brain to start accepting the template back into your reality. Because the template was bastardized, it was ripped and fractured, it was burned, it was whipped, it was abused, and it was destroyed for 2,000 years. And now we're reclaiming it back. So it's exciting, You're living in a great time. All right, much love, my love. All right, I'll upload this on YouTube. You'll recognize it by the art that you just saw here. Sending you much love on your journey. I'll talk to you soon. Namaste. Be well.